In this episode of The Tripod.
You know what I mean? Do you work for UPS? Because I could have sworn you were checking out my package. No? Anyway.
Welcome to The Tripod.
Hello, and welcome to episode 42 of The Tripod. I'm Sean O'Riordan. No, I'm not. Hello, and welcome to episode 42 of The Tripod. And we're doing video. And it's just mad.
Yay!
The lads are here.
Hello, everybody. I see Sean. I see Ronan.
I see
What's the
London.
story?
Do I have to stare at?
I saw
Oh my
Kevin's
gosh.
underpants.
I know that
Again.
people are uncomfortable if I just actually. I'm going to spend the whole podcast just looking at you.
Oh, I can't stare at the camera like that. I was doing it there at the beginning. It's real weird.
It actually unnerved
It does,
me when
it's
you were
sca-
looking at
Yeah.
it like that. I don't know why. It just
I don't like it.
yeah.
Stop it, Ronan.
Now
yeah.
I have to do it for the rest of the episode, don't I? Just proper. Come here to me, Sean. This is the first time people are seeing the receding hairline in person. How are you feeling about that?
Not one bit self-conscious.
You shouldn't.
Conscious.
You look great.
You look
I
lovely.
mean,
gave
if
myself a
anyone can-
haircut, lads.
If anyone can get past those arms, look at those forearms, for God's sake. Oh my
That
God.
fade.
Like
That is.
I just
Sick
shaved.
fade.
I just put the ball on the head really and just cut it all around. But look, it's grand, isn't it?
Do you want to see my
just
hair,
went
lads? Hang
town
on.
for leather.
Kev, you look like a One Direction
looks
wannabe.
He does, doesn't he? He looks younger every time I see him.
He has a hat, the hair, and the check shirt as well.
That's why I have the hat on though. Like the hair is just like I'm either a fifth Beatle or the Lego Man. I'm not sure. Like I'm kind of in between both of them. So, yeah, the hat
Lego
is.
Man.
I mean, I hope the weather doesn't get any hotter anytime soon because the hat's staying, and I've no haircuts for at
The
least
hat suits
6
you.
weeks. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
I'm
This
very
is-
excited that we're doing video.
See, it's weird because, like, obviously, this isn't exactly new for us because every episode we've been able to see each other. But I think the fact that we now know other people are going to see this is a bit unnerving. Ronan,
Everyone can
stop
see
it.
my
You're putting,
shenanigans now. The
you're putting me
shenanigans.
off.
Yeah,
Why?
well, look,
Because Kev, when you
that's
get up
what
to
I
go
do.
to the toilet, people will know.
Exactly. They'll be like, oh, Kev's off to go toilet again. Oh, he's going for another orange juice. Oh,
they might finally get to meet Peter though. But anyway, lads, this is a
Oh, no
photography
doubt.
vlog cast.
Oh,
Is that what
apologies.
you call them? A vlog cast.
a
Today,
vlogcast.
I've no
it's episode
idea.
42, and we have some lovely stuff in store for you today. We are doing
Do we?
color harmony, which is rather important in photography when it comes to not only post-processing but understanding the colors in the landscape if you're out shooting, the colors on the stage if you're doing concerts, how to relate the colors in the color harmony wheel in Photoshop, how to actually take one of your photos into Adobe Colour Themes, upload it, and it will spit out the colors that are in your photo, and it will give you a direction to go in with the edit. All sorts of lovely stuff. And then we also have a double your shot, I believe, Mr. O'Riordan.
Yes, sir. A double your shot,
Double
from
whammy.
Mike and Tom, and I cannot wait to show the listeners these images.
Same.
Absolutely top class.
Yurt.
Lovely. Kevin looks real nervous. I feel like you can feel
I
the
am
camera
nervous, like-
burning a hole in your face.
No, I'm grand. I'm just excited. That's
I need
all.
to get my notes ready.
you look excited, Kev. Right, anyway, well, let's
I am.
jump into it. Let's just jump into it.
Oh,
are
fill
we-
up the
are we allowed-
Franco.
Are we allowed to say that?
Yeah,
I don't think so,
Yeah,
actually,
it was
no,
Philip
'cause-
Franco.
He's got a lot of followers, and I don't really want to get involved with him.
But
When he
every
sues.
YouTuber says it, and they all say it as sarcastically as we do. Let's start with you, Queeveen. We'll do a bit of
Yes.
the photo talk. Color harmony. Tell us about color harmony and what you know about color harmony. Even if you don't know about color harmony, let's just kickstart the chat and tell us all about the lovely colors you see in concerts or used to see in concerts. Disclaimer: Kevin has a
I
chat
don't
concert
even-
about
Oh
4 years.
wow! He's just
Yeah, you know, I actually-
absolutely kick him out when he's down there.
So I have actually surpassed the 1 year mark. It's officially over a year since my last gig.
Oh no way!
Like over a year,
mad.
which is like I had a moment of reflection, like looking back at Tenacious D photos, and I was like, who would have thought, like, leaving the pit that day, there was the likes of, like, Glenn Bollard was there. I think Eamon Smith was there. And I was like, oh, lads, sure, look, I'll see you again in a few weeks, because I had the Who lined up relatively soon after that. And I was like, yeah, sure, look, I'll be seeing these loads. Like, I had so many plans, so many booked. And I was like, this will be fine. Not a care in the world. I just left happy, buzzing off the gig. And then that was it. Like, that was the last time I
Wow.
step foot in the pit.
It's so sad.
I mean, never ever, like, obviously when all this kicked off, in my head, it was like, yeah, it'd be grand. I'll miss a month's worth of gigs, maybe 2 months worth of gigs, like, at a push. No, I didn't. I've missed 1 full year of gigs. So I can't remember. I can't remember what a gig is anymore. I know that they sometimes have lights on the stage, I believe. I think so. Anyway, I'm trying to rack my brain. Yeah, but I mean, look, with gigs, like, the color spectrum can be off the wall depending on who it is. There's a lot of reds at gigs, which is upsetting.
Yeah,
red is tough.
And lots of, like, kind of purpley blues as well. They love that kind of.
They love it. Like, they love it.
Yeah,
because it does look visually, it does look really good. But just when you're trying to photograph those things and then process those things, it's not ideal whatsoever. I've said before, I have presets made, like, myself, like, my own kind of just stuff to help me along. So I've got, like, pinks gigs, purples gigs, reds gigs, and that's what they're called. And that's just literally from me messing around in my room with all the different color options to try and rescue that. And even, like, it's never a one-click fixes all either. You know what I mean? It just helps you along the way.
Well, we should be able to put some method to your madness now, Kev, because color harmony comes back to that. It comes back to white balance, balancing a shot's color, color correction, color grading, everything. It all comes back to these little rules. Sean, you're a teacher. You might be familiar with primary and secondary colors. Would I be correct in that assertion? No, I would not be. Okay.
I'm not a primary school teacher, so no, we don't teach, like, I'm a secondary school teacher. No, we don't teach kids the colours like we assume they know the colours when they go into school.
You should teach them.
But that's actually, like, a good
reds,
point. Like, you can't assume these days that people would know these things. So that's why you hear color harmony and you might think, I'm not interested in that. It's actually really interesting.
It's something that, it's something that we haven't really delved into ever in the podcast, even though we've probably touched on color that's looked natural and well. And I think people, unknown to themselves, create pleasing images because they've nailed color harmony, but they don't know they're nailing color harmony. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a very fair assessment. Did you know that most, like, sunrises and sunsets come with natural complementary colors? Because
I didn't. Well, I did, because I've seen a lot of them, but no.
I've been there once. The so the basics of color harmony, to get into the nitty gritty now. There's 3 primary colors, and they would be yellow, red, and blue. So when you have yellow, red, and blue, with those 3 colors, you can pretty much make up any other color. There is some exceptions to that where you need a secondary color, and the secondary colors can be found by combining the primary colors. So if you combine yellow and red, you end up with orange, which is a secondary color. If you combine yellow and blue, you end up with green, which is a secondary color. And if you combine red and blue, you end up with purple, which is the other secondary color. So there's 3 primary colors and 3 secondary colors. On the screen at the minute that I'm sharing with you is the Adobe Colour website. Adobe Colour is also available as a plugin for Photoshop. So you can actually get this color wheel and you can, like, use the eyedropper tool to select the color, bring it into Adobe Colour Themes, similar to Riot Pro, an adjustment layer or anything like that, it just opens up as a little window. And you can identify what colors are in your photo. The other thing you can do to identify the colors in your photos is if you press Control Shift Alt E, which is a stamp visible layer, it will stamp visible everything on your screen. And then you can go File, Export, and export it as a low res JPEG and bring it over to this option here on the website, which is Extract Theme. All you do is drop your file in here, and Adobe Colour Themes will automatically look at all the colors in your photo and build the color theme for it. So when
That's
you
amazing.
have that, it's really handy because it gives you like the perfect baseline to begin your edit on. If you're ever stuck on where to begin your edit, if you had an image that, say, with the color wheel here, say you had a sunrise or sunset, you'd probably be looking at colors like this.
Yeah.
Dark blue shadows. So you might look at that and be like, what does this mean? And that's where these color rules come in, which are apply a color harmony rule over here comes in. This is where it's really handy. It gives you the perfect guide. There's analogous is the first one, which is kind of all shades of the same color. And depending on what your base color is here in the middle. So it'll give you an even distribution of similar shades of color. You can see as I drag these around, they all change together. Then you have monochromatic, which a lot of people would imagine monochromatic to be black and white image.
Black and white.
But monochromatic is actually mono meaning one and chroma meaning color. So it's actually just the one shade of color. So if you were to choose, say, an orange over here, if I set my base color actually here, and I'll bring hue to the reds, brightness all the way up. And you can see now that all of these color dots, they're not really separated very well, but all of these little color dots are these swatches down here. They're all on the same hue, but they're different luminosity values. So they're all the same shade, but they're different colors. So you could build quite a nice photo out of these colors here. If I actually go over to my library now, you'll see my library, see the tripod theme?
Yeah.
This is where I just extracted the tripod colors out of the logo. So we have our primary green, our secondary color is the orange, and that's a slightly lighter shade of the green, a lighter shade of the orange, and then we white, which is obviously the background of our logo. So that's our 5-color swatch for the tripod.
That's amazing.
So just there, Ronan, for the list, obviously, if we'd encourage you as well, if you could, you can watch the podcast now, which is great, and you'll be able to see the visual aids that Ronan is using here. For those of you that are listening, Ronan has been going through basically a color wheel and showing us the different shades of color in the wheel. With regards to Ronan, this being useful for a photographer, like let's say I went out in the morning and I shot a sunrise, okay? How can I use this tool, this Adobe Color tool, to accurately process my image?
Okay, I'm going to try and pull up an example on the fly, but to explain it with words, you could take a photograph.
We have to remember we have the listeners as well to try and explain it.
Yes.
I must apologize. I'm so excited by the new technology we have. To explain it, basically, if you have a sunrise shot, say, or a concert shot where there's like lots of red light and the shadows are some dark shade of blue, you might instinctively come into that photograph and decide, I'm going to add a bit of magenta, I'm going to add a bit of a hue. You might try and mess with the colors, but that might be counterintuitive because like a sunrise or a sunset should have naturally complementary colors because it should have orange and blue as I'm going to switch to complementary for the video here. It should have orange in the sky and blue in the shadows. And you can see here on the color wheel, and for anyone who's not aware, orange is the opposite of blue. So any color that's an opposite is 180 degrees. If you want to find the opposite of your color, if you take the hue and either add or minus 180, you will find the opposite color, because the color wheel
Fantastic.
goes in 360 degrees. So if you add,
And isn't this exactly the reason why teal and orange work so well together, even though a lot of people don't like teal and orange anymore? But that's exactly why
Yeah.
teal and orange is like a perfect, combination.
there you have it on the screen. And for those listening, teal, the shades of teal and orange you see, they're not really like, it's not actually orange, it's more of a rusty coppery color.
Yeah.
And the opposite of that is that kind of greeny blue color, which is teal. Another place you'll find that is actually in copper. So if you have copper and it ages and oxidizes, what color does it turn?
Teal.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that? An old copper roof or old copper pipe?
Yeah, like,
outdoors?
like churches and all.
Yeah. And like some people actually use chemicals to stain their copper to get it to oxidize for that look, because the actual natural copper color and then the oxidized copper color, which is like a tealy blue, are actually complementary colors because they're opposite on the color wheel.
So
Class.
colors that are opposite on the color wheel complement each other and they look well together. Basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
that's one of
if
the
I go into
rules is
Lightroom,
complementary.
yeah, if I go into Lightroom and I go onto my HSL slider and I go to the hue tab and I look at the different colors. So on the left of my, let's say on the left of my oranges is reds, and on the right of my oranges is yellows, or is it vice versa? I can't remember. But basically they're the opposites of one another. So that means they're complementing one another.
Yeah. Another way to think of it is if you look at your white balance, when you want to change your white balance, you have two sliders. You have yellow to blue and magenta to green. And magenta and green are actually complementary colors, and yellow and blue are actually complementary colors. So what you're doing when you're trying to balance your white balance, if I come back to the color wheel here, and you have, there we go. So when you have your yellow to blue sliders and you're sliding it left and right, what you're actually doing is sliding from yellow into blue. And look what happens in the middle. When you get to the middle of between yellow and blue, because they're opposites, you get white. So that's what your white balance is doing. It's trying to balance the yellows and the blues, and then also the purples and the greens. So when you get the perfect combination between purple and green, you get white. So it's using both those points between magenta and green and yellow and blue to get a double axis of color. And when you can get the middle of both of them, you have perfect white. And that's how the camera can tell what the colors are throughout the...
Man.
Oh,
you're so intelligent.
So that's how the camera...
Thank you, Biff.
Basically, the camera is trying to find that middle spot. It's not trying to go left or right of that. It's basically trying to find that.
So the camera's always on the hunt
between the
both
sweet colors.
Yeah. So your camera will have a slider that's green to, you see now. Trying to do this on the fly now and it probably won't work. Where's my hue? How do I change this?
Can I just say something right now? And the list, whoever's viewing this podcast will know exactly what I'm talking about if they're looking at this color wheel. If you're listening to this, take a photo in the middle of the day with blue skies and add magenta to it, and look how horrendous it looks. We're trying to add like this pink as sunset hue to a photo taken in the middle of the sky or in the middle of the day. It looks horrendous, and that's because they're basically beside each other here
on top of each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially.
That makes so much sense. See, I put it, lads. I put a bit of context to it.
I love it.
And it makes sense. It makes sense in my head now.
I love
it. I wrote it. I'm just
because Sean doesn't always get stuff.
I don't always get stuff. But when stuff clicks in my head, it's so satisfying. I'm chuffed with that now.
I'm delighted.
Carry on.
Beautiful moment. So
it makes a lot of sense, and it does, especially for like, because we talk about like how colors are so important in, let's say, in landscape photography, and how getting your colors accurately is important. And if you mess around with this color wheel, you'll see the colors that complement each other, and you'll know, okay, well, I can't Do you know what I mean? I can't go mad with that color because it's not going to go well with that, etc. And you'll understand how important the colors are at different times of the day. Makes a lot of sense.
Exactly,
Does.
yeah. So it gives you a good
Really does.
baseline. So look, your example with the magenta there was a good one because some people will automatically come in and decide that they're going to add a load of magenta in.
Magenta there.
Yeah, they're going to wreck it with magenta. And that may not always be the way to go. So yeah, just the last visualization here. Sorry, I set it up. It took me ages. The yellow to blue and the green to magenta for the white balance. And you can see when they cross in the middle, when you get the right balance, you get pure white. So that was that. So here, for anyone watching, I have dragged one of my photographs into the color themes. And when you look at this photograph, you might think it's my photograph of the Black Castle. And there's a lot of like browns and some pinks in the foreground with the sea pinks, but there's a huge amount of sea. But you can see when I've dragged this into Adobe Colour Theme with the colourful mood selected, it's given me a fairly monochromatic set of colours.
Use your words.
It is, isn't it?
But if you were to look at this photograph, Kev, would you think that that's a monochromatic image?
Not at all. I would like for like looking at that. I suppose when you look at straight away, I see the sky, and then you've changed it so I can't go through it anymore. No, but you see the sky, and then you see the sea, and they are like that looks very contrasty to my eyes. So you know what I mean? It's strange that it's actually monochromatic.
Well, then
everyone thinks
monochromatic.
Everyone thinks a monochromatic means black and white. Like I think people understand that monochromatic means just one shade of one shade. You're dealing with one color for different shades or different luminosities. So in a black and white image, it's monochromatic because you're dealing with different shades of grey. You're dealing with the whites to the blacks and different shades of grey. In this image here, it's dealing with different shades. I suppose different shades of brown, one I'd say, is it?
Essentially, yellows and browns. So, like what we would call brown, would in luminosity terms would be a very dark yellow. You know, it depends on the hue. It all comes back to your hue, saturation, and luminance. Like the HSL sliders in Lightroom, it's called HSB in Photoshop, which is hue, saturation, and brightness. But every color is made up of 3 ingredients, and we can see that here for those watching.
Yeah,
you have. I can't see because I have the little cameras there. So you have RGB. No, hang on. HSB is what we were talking about. Which is hue, saturation, and brightness. So you can see the top slider is your hue. And as I spin that, you can see the wheels spin around through all the different shades.
Yeah.
So from red right through just a whole color spectrum. Then when you pick one, your next slider is your saturation. So that's how strong the color is. So whether it's very muted and pale or whether it's a very strong version of that color. So we have a very strong blue there if I leave it on 100. And then what we would call dark blue would be, if I set that to 50%. So a dark blue would be like that to us, but to a camera that's a 50% brightness blue. Do you know what I mean? In terms of luminosity, like we see brightness and cameras see luminosity. So bright blue to a camera is a very bright or luminous shade of white, as it were. But it's the saturation would be stronger, would be weaker because it's bright, and the hue would be on blue. So the camera dissects things by seeing what shade of grey it is first, and then it kind of looks at what level of saturation it is, and then the hue. There's CMYK as well, which is for printing mainly usually, and that's C is black, and then you've magenta, yellow, and cyan, I think, is it?
Cyan, yeah.
But that's a whole other animal. And then RGB is screen colors.
Yeah, I convert all my images to CMYK. I had to when I was doing the calendar.
Oh yes.
Yeah, you
Something
would
to do
have
with
been,
the
yeah.
printers. Yeah, they're printing CMYK or something. Color profiles.
Those damn printers.
Pesky printers.
Yeah, so I'll get back to the color wheels to finish this, but if you take your photo snapshot like I have here and you bring it into the extract theme, you can actually throw your little JPEG in here and it'll show you what colors are dominant in your photo. Now, the photo I chose has
Lovely.
already been processed, so the colors are fairly well balanced. But if you were to bring a
Yeah.
photo in that has not been processed, do I have one?
So this is how this tool is going to
I
help you
don't.
now. So if you wanted to bring in a photograph into this is by the way, if you type in just Adobe Color Themes into Google, this will bring you onto this page, and
you can
let's
do
say
this
you have a raw
manually in
file.
Photoshop as well.
Yeah, like if you had a raw file, and you'll be able to find out what colors are prominent in your image, and then you can best decide how to post process that image to complement those colors. Do you know? So as I said, like if you do take a daytime shot, do you know, you'll be able to see there'll probably be lots of blues in it. And if you look at the color wheel, you'll see, well, the opposite of, or sorry, the blues are not opposite the magentas, so I'm not gonna go add magenta to my image.
Avoid
You know what I mean?
like the plague.
That's just a basic example. Just to kind of give you context, but color is so important in photography. Not just in landscape photography, in photography in general, in portraits, like skin tones. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Prime example, like skin tones. If you get skin tones wrong, you honestly make someone look like they're either after drinking 50 pints the night before, or they're on the way out. Like, do you know what I mean?
Skin tones is such a tricky one, isn't it? Like,
make them look like they had pints.
Yeah.
Did you say?
He did.
Yeah, like they could be
like,
green. They could be green in the face, like. You know what I mean?
Like I've seen quite a few instances now of people almost having like pink skin, like proper like magenta skin, and it's not a great look.
Away. The pink look.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like,
well, this is a tool you can use to solve that.
Yeah.
So we're using this landscape shot here, obviously, but if you click and drag your photo in, it'll give you these kind of swatches to have a look at. You can save the theme then, and then it'll appear through your Creative Cloud back into Photoshop to reference. But like on first inspection now, if you had a look at this photograph, you can see the sky looks yellow, and then the land looks this kind of burgundy color, and the rest of it is all really dark. But we can see by this color here, like that's a shade of green, and then we have yellow and blue. So yellow plus blue equals green, typically, doesn't it?
Yeah, correct.
So we can see we've a bit of a color wheel going on there. So that's the point where you come back to your wheel and you'd choose your colors that are in your image.
So you've picked triad now this time. You've picked triad on the color wheel.
Yeah. I was hoping I could load in that one, but I don't appear to be able to. Okay, so you'd come back to your color wheel and you'd use the colors that you just identified, and you kind of just drag out the colors to where you wanted them to be. Why is the brightness down on everything? Go back to HSB. Bear with me, this is new technology. So we had kind of a dark green, we had a pale blue, we had, what else did we have? Kind of a beigey color.
Yeah.
Why does this keep happening to me?
Doesn't want to work.
Never work with children. Or
never meet your
animals.
heroes.
That as well. How dare they? So we had this kind of beigey colors. We had these kind of pale blues. And we had that dark greeny color in there. So you can see by the color wheel now that we have opposite colors, which is good. That's a color rule,
Yep.
which is complementary. And if we see the split complementary rule,
Yeah.
we would have our opposites, but also some going off to the green. So that photograph actually has the bare bones of a color rule going for it already, which is good.
Yeah.
That's your baseline that
Lovely.
you want to stick to. As Sean said earlier, if you were to come to this image now and absolutely destroy it with magenta, you would destroy this color rule entirely because you've added magenta to all of these shades, which would push their colors all over the place. Because when you add colors together, you end up with different colors. Quick maths.
Is that why it's called harmony? Because you want
so
it to be
you're trying to
harmonized
achieve exactly. It's the hint was in the name the whole time. But yeah, to summarize, you want to try and identify the colors in your photograph and then try and stick to one of these rules. So monochromatic is all the same shade. Triad is like your primary colors where you've got yellow, red, and blue, or you can use the magenta, blue. No, magenta, blue, yellow. I can't remember. The secondary colors, primary, secondary colors, they're all split out like that, where they're not using their opposites. Complementary then is using their opposites. So as
direct
you spin
opposites.
them around, like red is the opposite of green. Think Wexford flag. Purple is the opposite of yellow. Blue is the opposite of orange. Teal and orange. Strawberries are red and green. They're complementary colors. A split complementary then gives you the opposites, but it kicks off and gives you like a flavor or a sprinkle of other colors. So if you had, say, a fiery sunset with really dark shadows in the blue, then your sea was this kind of nice tealy cyan color, that should be a really lovely image. But if you were to add a load of magenta to that, you're not sticking to a rule anymore, you know? Well, this would be an analogous rule, but by adding in some color that is not in some way part of this rule, you're pushing your image the wrong way. So try and pick one to stick to.
I'm looking up here at if the listeners can, or if you're watching this, I'm looking up here at a canvas beside my head, and it's a canvas of an absolutely roaring sunrise taken at Ballycotton Lighthouse during sunrise, and lots of oranges, lots of yellows, and blues then in the ocean. They're kind of the three prominent colors in it. So basically, Ronan, what you're saying is using this color wheel, you've got your triads, your complementary, your split complementary, your monochromatic. If you go by any one of those rules, then your colors will be in harmony.
Yeah, but the rules also lead into not only harmonizing your colors, it'll give you a good baseline to like understanding color harmony. Basically, will help you balance the colors in your photograph in terms of white balance. It'll help give you that first step when processing your photograph, and it'll also give you a kind of an end game with your photo. So like if you wanted to go the teal and orange route, if there was lots of greens and reds in your photograph, you could use the HSL slider, knowing that there are greens and reds on that shade. You could use the hue slider to push them back towards either the blue or the orange spectrum to make your image more complementary monochromatic with only shades of teal and orange opposite each other. So it gives you all the tools to actually take full control of the color in your image. You could also use it to identify a color palette from a certain image and create a gradient map. And any other pictures you took that day, you could process the one, take the gradient map, which there's actually a tool on Colour Themes to extract gradients as well. And this will work for more than just landscapes. Like it'll work for portraits, etc. You could actually download someone else's portrait off their Facebook page or whatever, run it through that, extract the gradient, and then apply the gradient as a gradient map in Photoshop, and it will apply the same color balance, almost like applying a LUT. It'll apply the same color gradient to your image and color grade your image just like their image. I'm just after telling
No,
you
yeah,
a way
can I-
to
can I
steal
jump-
people's presets.
I was just going to jump in there.
I was just
because
about to say, yeah.
Like, remember,
Yeah.
I think it was Kev's Corner #1. I went on an absolute rant about paying for presets. And like the
Yes,
odd
I
time, what
remember
I'll
that,
do
yeah.
is just a bit of a tangent here. But if you see people and they're selling presets on their Instagram and they've got like a before story, then an after story, and it's a swipe up, I'll always screenshot the before and I'll screenshot the after, and I'll try, get it as close as possible to just for sport and for something to do, just because I really don't like people selling presets. So that's amazing. I think that is brilliant. I mean, I'm going to tell
But that's
everyone
basically
about
how presets work. Like, isn't it what you just said there, Ronan? I mean, if you extract the gradient map, you're basically extracting the color science from the image, and you can create your own from that then. And that's a preset, like, at the end of the day.
That's
Exactly,
class.
yeah. It all
That
comes
is
back
class.
to, it's like we say with the exposure triangle. Color harmony is another basic. If you bring it all back to the basics, you can't go wrong. So like you might not use Adobe Colour Themes for every image for every image you process, but knowing it's there and using it once or twice, you will naturally build this kind of eye. You'll train your eye to look for the colors instinctively. So when you take a photograph, a lot of people, like I did it, I still do it. I take a photograph. I like it when I take it. I bring it home and I put it into Photoshop and then I hate it. Or I put it into Lightroom and I don't like it. A lot of time that's down to the color harmony. I have a lot of photographs in my archives. Like there's one of Blackcastle one morning and I could never get the edit right. And I don't know why I couldn't get it right. And now I know the color harmony that was actually present on the day, the natural colors that were there, they didn't work. And that's what destroyed the image. But in my head, I was like, why doesn't it work? I didn't understand.
That's
I
unfair.
wanted
Like,
to love it. Like,
Man,
nature
that
just
makes-
messing with you.
That
Yeah.
makes so much sense. Like, because I often say, like, do you know those roaring skies? Like, literally, it looks like the sky has just been lit on fire. Like, and all you can
Shouting
see
at
is
you.
literally like pinks and oranges, and it hurts
Yeah.
to look at it almost. I hate photographing those skies. And I know like a lot of landscape photographers are like, oh, John, it'd be sick. And like, let's say you saw an unbelievable sunset out the back of your house. You're like, oh, I'd love to be out shooting now. I'm like, no, because I know full well that it would just look horrendous on the camera. I don't know why, because it just, show me, I've photographed those sunrise and or sunsets or whatever. It just hasn't come out well. Yet the nicest ones are often where there's a touch of color in the sky. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's nothing overpowering.
Yeah.
And I think probably because it makes sense. It's probably because like it's just there's no balance between the sky and your actual foreground or whatever you have there when it's that vibrant. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, there's too much going on.
there's an imbalance. Sorry, I should say. Yeah, there's too much going on. Exactly. So that makes so much
yeah,
sense.
because for them,
It's clicked again.
for that to balance, click. For that to balance, if you have a roaring orange fiery sunset, your foreground would also have to be quite a bright blue. And where do you find a really bright blue
Yeah.
foreground? So it's
The
not
ocean,
clicking.
maybe. That's it.
Not even
Yeah.
though. Like, it's not going to be.
That's
bright
why. Hang on a
blue, is
second,
it?
though.
You know what I mean?
Okay, if you have to watch this now.
He's so excited.
Go on, Sean.
Right. Oh, can you see
Bring it
that?
down. Yes, sir.
Yes.
I mean, apart from your guns,
Look at the listeners.
if I can stop focusing on your guns for a moment, I'll look at the photograph.
The listeners. Do
you have a permit for those things?
Describe what
Oh,
the
shit.
listeners have seen.
So
Kevin.
there's this big vein along his fore. Oh, sorry, the photograph. Sorry.
What?
Something else, Kev.
It's a photograph. I'm distracted by your
Yeah, but-
arms.
The colors,
It's a
man.
canvas print.
Colors.
It has
It's blue and
lovely
orange.
orange and red fiery sky. There's also a hint of a baby blue in the sky. There's some yellows.
Oh yes.
And then the foreground has a very slight reflection of the sky color, but also in the whites of the ocean, they're actually pushed towards the blue spectrum. So they would be opposites. That image is the definition of complementary colors. And like
Yes,
when you
sir.
think teal and orange, you wouldn't think that, but that's a teal and orange color graded photograph.
And I wouldn't
And that is
normally leave
precisely
the
it.
blues. I didn't really know what I was doing with the camera when I took that photograph, believe it or not. It's an old image, but I wouldn't normally leave the blues like that blue in it. Like,
Yeah.
it's not going to hang up. I'll just leave it on the ground. I wouldn't normally leave the blues before it falls down away. That blue, but it's just when you were explaining it there, Ron, I looked up. I was like,
Hang on a minute.
ding.
Deadly.
But that's
I'm
the
gonna
other
have to
thing,
hang this
yeah.
up
Like,
because this gives me OCD. Sorry. Carry on.
you could be like me in landscape photograph. I will remove the blues out of the water, because if you're using an auto white balance, the camera will try and turn the whites of the water in a long exposure. They typically come out with a bit blue, especially if you're using an ND filter or something. They'll come out with a bit purpley, a bit blue on that spectrum. A lot of people remove that and just take their blues out with the blue slider. And you could actually damage your photograph. Like, Sean, if you were to correct that photograph now and correct the whites in the sea and make them white, that image would not be as impactful. But because they're in the
it's
shadow
mad.
and they're blue, they're complementary to the fiery sky. So that's
Yeah.
exactly what we want to achieve with color harmony. In summary, I hope that made sense now.
So
I hope
interesting.
It did. To me, I learned loads. I love that. I love learning stuff on this podcast.
It just
tis a rare day when you do, but when you do, tis mighty.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
You sound like the American actors when they try and put on an Irish accent.
Oh Lord, yeah. Or the
Good Lord. What
or
were the worst ones? There was a couple of films there, lads, and they were horrendous.
Yeah,
There was
there's
a
some
reason, wasn't
shockers.
there? The Lavender in the Hills or something like that, wasn't it?
What was the one where it was your one came from
Drop fag
America
box.
and your man owned the pub and she missed her train and what was it called? It was something to do with Valentine's Day actually, because what was it?
Gerard Butler and P.S. I Love You was pretty shocking. Like
It wasn't
that's not-
PS. Yeah, it was something.
That's
it was one of
not a
those
great
films. You know the one I'm on
Um,
about, lads. She's married to your man. He's out in the middle of nowhere, and Jesus, I don't know. Doesn't matter
Julia
anyway.
Roberts and Michael Collins is another shocker. I'm going to throw it out there.
That's a great film, though.
Yeah, but her accent was shocking. You know what I mean? Like her attempt at it wasn't ideal, but it's a cracker. One of the phenomenal, like absolutely phenomenal. But
Roland,
yeah,
are you disapproving of our conversation?
No, I don't enjoy your conversations and your segues, and they only seem to happen when I'm hosting as well. And I just have to sit here and take
it's
it.
intentional. Sorry, friend.
I'm full
but yeah,
on
colour,
give a fiddler's
when I'm hosting. But I full
Colour
on expect
harmony.
it now that yous are just going to be like, "Hey, how was your weekend? Missed you. I was
Yeah.
thinking of you 4 times last Saturday." That
I
kind
was thinking of you 4 times last night.
Oh,
I mean,
Jesus.
ooh.
Oh, we move. Okay, let's move.
Anyway,
on to,
move swiftly
next-
on, shall we? That was color harmony, by the way,
Yeah.
everybody. Ronan, thanks for that. That was fantastic. People, I hope if you're listening, you're still following along. Bear with us. This is the first time we're doing video, so we're a bit excited, and a bit distracted, and a bit buzzing about it. So, you can go back and watch it anyway. Sure, if you're listening to it, you can just go back and watch it and watch that segment again. And you'll be blown away. Okay, what's up?
We're going.
next?
We have a Your Shot. It's been a while since we had a Your Shot feature.
So we're giving you 2.
We're giving you 2, yeah, and the
I didn't want
beauty.
to host the episode anyway. That's fine. You two
Oh,
work away
sugar.
there.
Sorry, Ronan. Sorry.
No, use one. Fire away.
Apologies.
Completely.
I'm going to my out of focus area.
Oh, nice. Nice. So I feel
Ronan,
like I didn't have much.
Let's go, Ronan. You can introduce.
I just feel like I didn't have much input in the color harmony part, so I just was
Look
like
at
trying
him.
to make up for it.
Oh.
That's all. Come back
Ronan.
into focus, Ronan. Back into focus.
Okay, Ronan.
There we go. He's a good boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now have for your aural and visual pleasure a double Your Shot presented by Signor Reardon.
Senior photo.
That was
By
good.
the way, I'm done now. I've done lots of talking apparently, so You can wrap it up there. Cheers, Kev.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Ronan.
man.
I'm
Did
just
it.
trying to be nice.
He's just
Look at the
him,
face of
like-
him. This is
what we had to look at.
See
Yeah,
this
see,
face.
the listeners
is
now
what
can
we
finally
have.
see what we had to look at for the last.
This is the face we see every Saturday night, lads.
And we're nearly coming up on a year, by the way. Okay.
No, it's not. I brush my hair for this episode, so it's not what you see.
It's
yeah,
true.
Thanks for having a shower as well, and Joe making us
Appreciate
presentable.
that.
I
Appreciate
cracked
it.
open the good stuff I got at Christmas as well. I went the whole.
Did you?
I went. Dived in. I washed my face. Have you ever done
You
that
smell
before?
great.
It feels
Did
great.
you condition
smell
your
great,
beard
yeah.
as well?
I did
Yeah.
actually
You
condition
oiled
my
it?
beard, believe it or
Yeah,
not.
you can
You
tell.
oil the beard?
It looks great.
Oh,
Oh, he's gone.
It does look great. Ronan, you
I
have
did
been
an
replaced by
upsy-daisy.
Nikon webcam utility. Okay.
This
We're
is
moving on to the
sponsored by
Yorkshire
Nikon
feature.
Webcam Utility.
We're moving on to the Yorkshire feature, folks, from two incredibly talented photographers, Mike Lavery and Tom O'Hara.
Hey, Rob.
And
We had a
hi,
swippy swap.
Hi, we have moved on. Tune in now, okay?
Sorry.
Tune in. So, firstly, we're gonna have a look at Mike's photograph, okay? And wow, Mike's photograph. When I saw this on the screen on Instagram, the first thing
That's
I thought of, and
stunning, isn't it?
this was before he had told me what was in his head, okay? But I thought that Afghan girl, that photo that was on the front of
Yes,
Nat Geo.
Yep.
First thing that came into my
100%,
head.
yeah.
And then I text Mike, like, man, I said, this is class. And I text him from the podcast page, like, oh, we have to feature this on the Your Shot. Like I said, that's an absolutely unbelievable portrait. And for the listeners that are listening, and obviously if you're watching this, you'll see the photo on the screen right now. But for the listeners, it's a portrait of Mike's partner, Rose. And it's just a close-up of her eyes, small bit of her hair, and her face, and then you can just kind of see she's in a dressing gown, but it's just a close-up of her face. But it's
phenomenal.
It's the eyes for me, it's the light, and it's
Gen
the out of
Z,
focus.
Jesus.
It's the out of focus areas. So
Yeah.
it draws you straight to her eyes. And Mike, you have to take a portrait of Rose with her in this portrait. She's actually looking off center. She's not looking at the camera directly. I'd love
Yeah.
to see a portrait where she's looking like intensely. Okay, 'cause Mike, I know she's her partner and everything. Okay, no, do you know what I mean? But like, she's unbelievably nice eyes. So these
Yes.
brown, cool eyes, and just like they would be so cool just to be looking intensely at the camera. I think it's an absolutely stunning portrait. And I text Mike and he said, geez, yeah, no problem at all. So this is what Mike had to say about the image. He said, so it's a shot of my partner Rose at home with a dressing gown wrapped around her head with a laughing face. Like,
I absolutely
yeah,
love
It's the
that.
way to do
works,
it.
it works. Like,
and get this, I took direct influence from that famous Nat Geo shot of the Afghan girl.
Deadly.
And
Yeah.
I said that to him. I said, man, this would not look out of place on the cover of Nat Geo. He said
100%.
he shot it with his A7, so it's the original Sony A7, and his Tamron 28-75 f2.8. The settings he used was ISO 80. He was at 47 millimeters in his f2.8, 1/125th of a second. He had a speed
Gorgeous.
light with a softbox as his key light. And as far as editing goes, it was 90% of it was done in Photoshop using curves, layer masks, and frequency separation.
Amazing.
Frequency separation, man. That is unbelievable. Mike, I wouldn't even know how to do frequency separation, but this is Ronan, would you have any input on frequency separation and its benefits for portrait photography?
yeah, frequency separation. What you're seeing there is the shallow focus is obviously the aperture of the camera, but the way the skin detail is nice and blurred and blurred, not washed out, but it's nice. Her skin looks perfect. Like there's no blemishes, there's no bumps. Even the freckles in
Yes.
that don't look like they're sticking out or anything. That's frequency separation. And what frequency separation is, you're basically taking the color from an image and the texture of an image and putting them on different layers. If you want to visualize that in Photoshop, if you're familiar with Photoshop, take your layer and go up to filter, other, high pass, and set it to about 4, and you'll see what the texture in your image looks like. And basically, when you're doing frequency separation, like it's a big long way to do it. You'll find an action somewhere to download to do it, but it takes the color and leaves it as a color layer, and then the texture and that is left as like a solid gray layer. So it's just a luminosity layer with all the bumps and other things. And you basically blur out any blemishes, like if someone has a spot, if they have a mole, a freckle, or a scrape on the face, like I have from my daughter, anything like that, you can just blur it down and blend it into the color layer to remove any blemishes.
Class.
I'm here all
Yeah,
week.
I think this is absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. That's absolutely savage. The next one. Well done, Mike. The next one for the listeners is
I like this.
from Tom O'Hara, okay? And it's a woodland image. All right. And yeah, this is very, very nice. And the one thing that catches my eye in this is obviously there's some beautiful fog in the background. It's the shape of the trees. So he's got these lovely trees intertwining up through the woodland. And he's also got these out of focus trees in the foreground, which I like. I think in landscape photography we become so hell bent on getting every single thing in focus.
That's
Here
right.
he's included these out of focus trees in the foreground, which help frame the shot, and it's a lovely image. It's a really nice image from Tom.
It's a real Sean O'Riordan image. Like as soon as you sent that into the group, I was like, yeah, that's Sean loves that. You know what I mean? He could tell us, yeah.
I'd be absolutely chuffed to take an image like this. Yeah, 100%.
absolutely.
Yeah,
It's
stunning.
it's just gorgeous. Like it's
stunning.
You know, there's something about woodland shots and fog. You know, and that's, you know, there's a reason for that, because it's beautiful. But like the way, like obviously you can see, like if you're looking at it, like each layer of tree gets, you know, lighter and lighter as well, obviously because there's more fog, and like that really that it's gorgeous to look at. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's a lighter shade of the color as well, and it's just striking to look at, isn't it?
So Tom shot this with his EOS R. That's not my screen. Tom shot this with his EOS R, and his thought process. I don't take a huge amount of images, but what I do is take some that I think will be interesting for me. So with this one, I say the trees in the foreground just seem like a perfect gateway to being the viewer's eye in. Exactly. In terms of editing, I brought down the greens and the browns so that they weren't so colorful, if that makes sense. I also used some dodging and burning on the trees to make them stand out more. I think that's pretty much everything that I think is relevant. So he's done very little post-processing, but he mentions those two trees in his foreground that helped draw in this and create this gateway to the actual image itself, you know. And I think that was very powerful inclusion.
You know what I really like about that image? One, the color harmony is absolutely delicious.
Oh,
the pale
yes.
blues and the shades of brown and green, they're all muted colors. And I guarantee if you were to pull that into Adobe Colour Themes, they'd be on a triad or a complementary split rule, because they're bang on. But the other thing I love is with the verticals of the trees, there's also these little branches jutting out here and there. You'd be very tempted, and it would be very easy to go in and remove a lot of them. And I think you'd destroy the image doing that. I think there's the right level of touch-ups done to the image to keep the eye moving through the layers. And not only the layers of colour, but the way the trees are composed. You're moving in and in and in and in and through the image. Like, it's lovely. It's delicious.
It really is.
Look, it's so lovely.
Yeah, it's a stunning landscape shot. So, Tom, thanks for tagging us, and same to you, Mike.
Yeah, lads, appreciate it.
Delighted
Thank you all
to
very
have
much.
those as the Your Shot feature. At least we now have a video format for the Your Shot feature. Do you know what I mean? And the listeners can visually see the images we're talking about and talking through. So that's going to be a great addition to the podcast. You know,
one thing I forgot to say about Mike's shot actually was his use of filling the frame. It's not. I think that doesn't happen enough, I think, in portrait photography.
Correct.
You know, thanks, Ronan. But yeah, like that's just, for me, like it's just he's showing you what he wants you to see,
Yeah.
and he's not leaving it up to hoping that people will see what he wants. He's just like, you see this because that's all I want you to see, and
It's
it's
the eyes, man. It's
gorgeous.
Rose's eyes. It's just they just draw you in. It's just like,
Yeah,
boom, there it is.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. That's phenomenal. So thank you, lads. Appreciate it.
And what I love about that image is like, just literally probably it was just shot at home, just inside and probably in their sitting room. You know what I mean?
In a dressing gown. You know what I mean?
in
Like,
a
I
dressing
love it.
gown.
wrapped around the head.
Like,
Perfect.
One
that's
speed light,
class.
soft
You know
box.
what I mean?
And I know Mike is doing a course of photography at the moment. So it's obviously paying off. Like, do you know what I mean? He's
Good man,
learning
Mike.
he's learning these different techniques. Like I didn't know I wouldn't know how to use frequency separation in Photoshop. Do you know?
I do.
Um,
I was trying it the other day anyway. Well, no, I lie. I watched the video on it by Unmesh. But still, I'm all
Deadly.
over that. Me and Photoshop
Deadly.
are best mates now.
Yeah, how are you getting on with it?
Good. Yeah, like it'd be quite good. High pass filter is really nice. I've been like them super, super strange touch-ups you see on people's eyes where they're proper like but they don't look like they're I've trying a couple of those. It's just, yeah, like I can't believe I was afraid of it for so long. Really, like I'm kicking myself, to be honest, because okay, it's not sliders, so you can't just go in and affect an image by just playing stuff. You kind of need to know where you're going. But once you know where you're going, it's grand. And there literally is a YouTube video for every single thing you want to achieve.
Absolutely.
In there.
Photoshop is so powerful.
It's lovely. Like as I said, I don't know like still what I'm going to use it for or whatever, but it's at the moment it's fun. It's good. Like I'm learning, so it's just fun to like just try things. You know what I mean? I'm trying stupid stuff as well at times, just for the sake of trying it. So yeah,
wait till you discover Adobe Camera Raw and the Adobe Camera Raw filter. You'll never leave Photoshop.
Really?
Because Camera Raw is just basically Lightroom as a plug-in.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go into Lightroom unless you want to catalog your photos. So if you put one photo to edit, just drag the RAW into Photoshop, do your Lightroom processing Camera Raw, and then open it as a smart object, and away you go.
Unreal.
All I use Lightroom for is cataloging. I bought a second camera, lads.
Whoop whoop.
I bought a second camera, and this is it. You know what? When I was looking for cameras all week, right? Do you remember, was it Connor we had on? Not on, but he had a question last week about switching from kind of his D7200 up to full frame, or should he make the jump and stuff? We never recommended the Z50, the Nikon Z50. And that's the second camera I bought.
Full frame, though.
Yes, I know. Yeah, he was kind of on about mainly full frame. Yeah, that's true. That's okay. That completely makes my last point unvalid. Okay, but I bought a Z50, and
anytime, Sean. Anytime.
Thanks, Rob. Why did you buy a Z50, Sean? It's a crop sensor camera, isn't it? Yes.
Why did you buy a Z50, Sean?
Kevin just asked, actually, Ron.
Kevin,
sorry, I'm nice. I do for you.
Oh, you're hosting. Sorry, I forgot you're hosting. I'm going back to
I'm
my
the host.
focus area.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to tell the stories of why I bought a Z50.
Go on, Sean.
First thing, I needed a secondary camera for video. I may or may not be going back into video. I'm not sure yet what I'll be doing, but part of me does want to go back into making landscape photography videos or some sort of videos on you. So I bought a Z50 for that, so I can record myself in video, and it has a screen that I can view myself while I'm filming. That's very important for anyone who wants to vlog or record themselves. You have to be able to see yourself when you're filming. Second reason is that it's a crop sensor, so I'll have extra reach with my 70-300 adapted to it. I will have something like 115 to 450 or something like that. So that'll be a great little focal range for wildlife and landscapes.
Ooh.
And thirdly, it's a lovely small little compact package, and the 16 to 50 kit lens comes with it. You basically get it for free when you buy it as part of the kit, and it's going to be a great little camera.
Has that got silent autofocus?
Yeah, it's what do they call it? They have a word for it anyway. It's built in VR, so it looks like a nifty little camera. And also, I shot on Micro Four Thirds for years, so sensor size doesn't scare me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I created some of my favorite images on a tiny little Micro Four Thirds sensor. So like,
I'm just still stuck on nifty little package, to be honest. Like, so
yeah,
I haven't even got past that bit yet.
I knew that was gonna come up.
You know what I mean?
I knew one of was gonna be like.
I don't get it.
Your nifty little package. That's what we're talking about. You know,
okay.
Package can be used to describe your lovely lady lumps. Only if you're a man. So it's
that package.
Your manhood.
You know what I mean? Do you work for UPS? Because I could have sworn you were checking out my package. No? Like, anyway.
I very nearly fell off my chair.
Okay, we've lost Ronan. We nearly lost Sean. And I nearly jumped.
So I bought the Z50 for those reasons, and I'm really looking forward to getting it and hopefully creating some video with it. And it looks like a really cool camera, and it takes SD cards. Thank God, I have a use for the multiple SD cards that I have stacked up here, and not a big expensive XQD. And I think it'll complement my Z6 very, very nicely. So I'm excited about a new camera.
Lovely. That's lovely news.
Comprende?
Si, senor.
Okay, that was good. I actually can't wait to see how the Z50 flies, because I would have written it off entirely because the Z.
No, I don't think it's a drone, Ronan.
Yeah,
it's a camera.
Kevin has just interrupted Ronan, and if those of you are watching this, you can see the reaction that I always have to look at when Kevin interrupts Ronan.
he said it flies and it doesn't fly. Are you mouthing?
I'm not doing anything, sorry. Yeah, no, but it will be interesting to see how it runs, how you can use it as a camera, Kevin. But no, you would kind of write the Z50 off. But yeah, even the kit lens comes with silent focus motor, so it's ideal out of the box for video. So yeah, but that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I was looking at the Z5, Ronan, but the Z5 doesn't have a flippy screen. I know that sounds petty, like, but when you're filming yourself, like, you have to be able to see yourself. Are you in focus?
Yeah,
are you exposed correctly?
Yeah,
now, Nikon, why Nikon? But the screen flips down, like it flips down like 180 degrees. They're like, if you had the camera on a tripod, you can't see the screen. However, Small Rig invented an L bracket, so you put the L bracket in the camera, and basically you mount a tripod where the battery slot is, so you can see the screen was facing down. But why can't camera manufacturers just build a screen that fully articulates out to the left? Olympus can do it, Panasonic can do it, I know Sony can do it. Like, just do it. Like, just
Canon can do it, and they do it the best.
Canon can do it as well. Yeah, Nikon actually don't do it on any one of their cameras. They don't fully articulate their screens out at all. So
the D5200 used to.
Sorry, Nikon, the D5300 and the D5600 does it.
They were the only ones that did, yeah. And they had shocking video. So it was kind of pointless.
Class. Typical,
The 5200 had video, did it? Oh, no,
the 5300 and the 5600. But yeah, so hopefully I'll start. The listeners, do you want me to start making landscape photography videos or vlogs or some sort of video?
Listen,
I want to see us doing skits as well, doing the whole lot, doing it all.
Yes.
Do you want to see us do more? Do you want to see more of like our faces?
I'm officially a listener of this podcast, so yes, Sean, we do.
Yeah. Okay, correct. Deadly. Okay, thank you. That was my little. Just want to tell you my news.
Okay.
Rory, you're back hosting now again.
Oh, I'm back now. Am I okay? Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 42 of the tripod. It's also the episode number that is. I thought Kev was saying he was going to leave there, and I was like, we're literally right at the end. Because I've never seen Kev do that before, but he goes like that.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
42.
It's because we have video now, so we can do like hand gestures.
Actually, made it through without having to go for a toilet break as well.
Yeah, I did. I went.
I wonder why.
I went before I left. I mean, before we started.
Maybe because you didn't have 4 orange juices before you started.
Yes, I mean that's part of it. I felt a bit uncomfortable having an orange.
During.
Yeah, I felt a little bit uncomfortable having my orange juice mid episode. I'm not gonna lie. It was
so look, here we are.
Yeah, but like my orange juice is very distinctive. You know what I mean? Like Ronan, sorry, what episode was that, mate?
I've been trying to end it for the last 42 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 42 of the tripod. I've been Ronan, Sean has been Sean, and Kevin has been irritating as always. Now that we have video, I want you to smash like, leave a comment your favorite Care Bear, share it with 14 of your friends, and also then divide it by 12 and then like it that many times. Yeah, lads, what? I
am the youngest host of the tripod.
I didn't know what he was at.
That wasn't said at the start, so I just had to get that in.
That's true. That's
Thanks.
true.
You go on, Kev. Yeah, go on.
No, I'm done. I'm gone.
Well,
thank you very much.
You stop interrupting me.
I didn't interrupt you.
I was just about to speak and you were like, It's on video. We've literally got video evidence, Kevin.
Yeah, we have video evidence of this. This is bullying, and people can see now the glare and the death stare you give me. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 42 of the tripod. We hope you enjoyed the first video episode, and we hope you enjoyed listening to it as well. As always, check our socials for all of the stuff related to the episode. And as I said before, comment your favorite Care Bear, share it with everyone. And as always, we'll see you next Tuesday.